The A's visit the defending champs and the best team in all of baseball. And we have Jeff Snider, host of Locked On Dodgers, to discuss today in a special crossover episode of Locked On A's and Locked On Dodgers.
You are Locked On MLB Crossover, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On A's, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day. I am your host, Booney. One name, all passion. Thank you for making Locked On A's your first listen of the day. I'm from the Bay Area, and I've been a diehard A's fan since '81. This isn't just another A's podcast. This is the most informative and insightful show on the A's, period. We cover the A's every single day, breaking down games, delivering the latest team news, and giving you deep, thoughtful analysis you will not find anywhere else. If it's happening in Sacramento or in Las Vegas, we got you covered. We are free and available wherever you get your podcast, including YouTube. And please hit that subscribe button wherever you are following the show. Not only do we cover the A's every day, but now we are giving you instant episodes after every single game. Check out the Locked On A's post-game show approximately 10 to 30 minutes after the final out, right here on the Locked On A's podcast feed, as well as streaming on the Locked On A's YouTube channel. Get rapid reaction to all the biggest moments with the Locked On A's post-game show. And if you would like to be a guest and talk some A's baseball on the post-game show, hit me up at X at Locked On A's or email me at lockedonathletics@gmail.com. This episode is brought to you in part by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. The Athletics, yes, those A's sit at 21 wins, 20 losses, just 2 games back of first place in the AL West. And while the rest of the baseball world is still rubbing their eyes trying to figure out how this is happening, I am here like, told you. This team has been disrespected, ignored, and straight up counted out by every so-called expert in the game. But tonight, they head to Dodger Stadium for a 3-game showdown against the defending World Series champions, the mighty Los Angeles Dodgers, who, by the way, have the best record in baseball and a ridiculous 15-3 home record. Now, look, I know the lazy take is, the Dodgers just buy their way to the top. And yeah, their payroll looks like monopoly money compared to the A's. But here's the thing. Money doesn't buy culture. And right there is where the Dodgers have separated themselves from most of Major League Baseball. So on today's crossover episode, I'm joined by Jeff Snider, host of Locked On Dodgers, and we are gonna dig into these pitching matchups, preview the series, and talk about what makes the Dodgers tick. And not just talent-wise, but culturally, because that piece, the invisible stuff, is what every team in baseball should be studying. And of course, I'm going to tell you why this 2025 A's team isn't just overachieving, they're underperforming compared to what they should be. Let's get into it. Jeff, thanks for coming on, bud.
Absolutely. It's always fun to talk baseball. And, you know, when we don't see the A's very often, so it's definitely exciting to get this chance to play the A's. Kind of seems like a different A's team than the last time we played them. And so definitely fun to talk baseball with you.
Every time I look at a Dodger hat these days, I have flashbacks of Hershiser and Gibson. So,
hey, me too. I bet we have different feelings about that.
Absolutely. You know, growing up in the Bay Area like I did, we're always taught, and believe, hey, you hate the Dodgers, right? Don't like the Dodgers. I'm sure you're used to it, right? Hearing all that good stuff. And with all the spending that goes on with the Dodgers, they're looked at in some ways as a villain. I tell you what's really, really impressed me about last year's team, what a lot of people don't realize about the Dodger team last year, is they went into that playoffs extremely, extremely banged up. Freeman was banged up. Betts was slumping. Glasnow was hurt. He was the ace of your staff for most of the year. And for as much, and I'll be honest, every series I was rooting against the other team just because it's the Dodgers. But when you look at player for player and what the Dodgers were getting done, it wasn't about the big names. Of course, you got to have your Ohtanis, you got to have your Freemans and Betts to perform in order to win at that level. But it was about your Vesias, your Bandas, your Edmonds. I mean, Vesia went to school close to where I live at Cal State East Bay. It's a 17th round pick. And when I look at the offseason and what the Dodgers did, I can't help but be like, they are building something incredible over there that goes past baseball and free agents, that has to do more with culture. And it feels like it's different with these Dodger teams and going forward than it has in the past. Have you seen that, or is it just a coincidence?
Yeah, no, I think you're absolutely right. I think when you look at what the Dodgers are building, you look at Dave Roberts as a manager, and the fact that he's not perfect as an in-game manager. I think he's better than a lot of Dodger fans give him credit for. He's not perfect, though. But what I do believe he is absolutely the best in baseball at is managing the people on a team, managing the 26 guys in the locker room in a way that you can bring in. I mean, you've got superstars, you got future Hall of Famers, and then you bring in a guy like Tommy Edman, and who is not a superstar, not a future Hall of Famer, and yet he fit right in, won the NLCS MVP, contributed in a way that he has never done. He was a solid player with the Cardinals. Hasn't contributed in that way. And it's just example after example of guys who come to this team, and either they're a superstar and you worry, is their ego going to fit in on this team? Yeah, no problem. Or they're a nobody you'd never heard of, like Alex Vesia. And it's like, he could be a star too, and there's just the entire roster is full of guys like that and I really do think Dave Roberts deserved a ton of credit for that, for setting that culture as being, look, we are the Los Angeles Dodgers. We are 26 guys trying to win a World Series together, and we need all of you doing what you do. I don't need Tommy Edman to be Shohei Ohtani. I need Tommy Edman to be Tommy Edman, because what Tommy Edman brings to the table is an essential part of winning baseball games.
Absolutely. To your point, and it's also 26 guys full of just flat out professionals that go from the top, as far as Freddie Freeman and Mookie Betts just leading the squad. This year seems to start with, it seems like the Dodgers as usual. When you think the Dodgers have dropped a couple, they're like, they're struggling. It's they're not doing as well as they should be doing. And then you look at the standings, like best record in baseball, one up in a very challenging NL West. What's it like right now as far as a Dodger fan? Is it going through the motions right now just in order to get to the postseason? Or is there a sense of urgency just like any other team? Is it different?
For most fans, it's probably closer to the former, obviously. I am a big proponent of enjoy the regular season. The 6 months of the regular season is the time to just love watching baseball. We had that game on Friday night when the Dodgers beat the D-backs. They, had a 5-run lead, and then they blew it, and then they're down by 3 runs going into the 9th inning, and then they score 6 runs, capped off by a Shohei Ohtani home run. That game was so much fun. It's one of those games where I will always remember where I was when Shohei Ohtani hit that home run, even though it's a relatively meaningless May game. But I love baseball. And so, that's what I constantly preach to Dodger fans is enjoy the regular season. Yes, they're going to be in the postseason. We'll have plenty of time to stress about that in October. And if you stress about everything, because the Dodgers are definitely taking the long view when you look at, giving guys rest, their goal is to go into October this year in a better situation than they went into it last year, because while they did win the World Series last year, it was stressful because they went into the postseason with two and a half starters. And somehow, I think the Dodgers' goal is to never have to throw a bullpen game in October ever again. And so they're trying to keep starters healthy, keep relievers healthy, and then on the, Freddie Freeman, the fact that he's only like 80% now coming back from ankle surgery and yet is dominating, but he's also missed games. The Dodgers put him on the injured list when previous years he probably would have just played through it. If it was September, he probably would have played through it. October, he definitely would have played through it. That's what he did last year. But they're like, no, it's April. We want Freddie healthy in October, so let's take the long view. And so it's kind of a mix of both things, like you said. There is a sense of urgency on the part of the fans. The fans have a really hard time sometimes recognizing, okay, this is all part of the big picture, because you do want to win every game. It's more fun to watch your favorite team win a baseball game than to watch them lose a baseball game. But I think the Dodgers as an organization are taking the long view and saying, yeah, we're probably going to win at least 100 games, which means we're probably going to win our division. We're definitely going to be in the postseason. So let's plan accordingly and have a goal of being healthy in October.
The Dodgers have had their share of adversity. I mean, everything's not just a whole hum for them. What do Dodgers fans think of, like, when you sign as many free agents as Dodgers or the teams with tons of money, you're going to have some whiffs. And so far, Michael Conforto, Blake Snell. Is a Blake Snell a guy like where fans are a little bit more lenient? Hey, we signed him for October. And Michael Conforto, what were the thoughts on that one? Are they critical of individuals who haven't quite met up to the billing, or is this all like, hey, we got October?
Yeah, fans are very critical of those.
Okay.
I think a lot of it with Blake Snell particularly right now, it's the unknown. We don't know if he's out for another 3 weeks or if he's out for 8 months. We just don't know why his shoulder is not responding. And until we have a better idea of that, if Blake Snell returns by August and is healthy in October, I think Dodger fans will consider that a win as a signing, because when he's on the mound, he's very good. And kind of their approach to the starting rotation this year was, we know we're going to have injuries, partly because it's the human body wasn't made to throw a baseball 100 miles an hour, and partly because they signed guys with injury risk. It's the high upside. It's a thing that a team like the Dodgers can afford to do. Yeah, we can sign more starters than we need, and we can sign the risky guys who with high upside and also potential for being hurt. And so as long as Blake Snell contributes in October, I don't think anybody really cares what he does in the regular season. But right now, that's the thing. October is up in the air right now with Blake Snell, because we don't know if there's something seriously wrong with his shoulder. As for Michael Conforto, I'm a big proponent of looking at the overall thing. And over the last 3 weeks, Michael Conforto has been hitting the ball hard.
Okay.
Really, I honestly believe it's just a launch angle thing. I think he's hitting too many ground balls. And we've seen over the last week and a half that he's started to turn some of those ground balls into line drives. And he's had some bad luck. He's hit some hard line drive outs at people that very easily could have been hits. And, I think there's alternate universes where he has already broken out of his slump because some of these hard hit balls are dropping. But we're starting to see that launch angle go up, fewer ground balls to the second baseman. And I do think that I think overall his season numbers are going to look kind of bad because he's already dug a pretty deep hole. But I think from now until the end of the year, it's not crazy to think he's going to be a pretty solid hitter.
Yeah, no, I hear you. What's interesting about this series is it has the best home record in all of baseball, with the Dodgers at 15-3 at Chavez Ravine, against the A's, who have the best road record in all of baseball at 13-7. And up next, we're going to reverse the roles and take a look at the 2025 Oakland Athletics. Are they above expectations? Are they below expectations? What's the deal with the 2025 Athletics? Up next. The NBA playoffs are in full swing, and every night delivers highlight-worthy performances, major momentum shifts, and can't-miss moments. Whether it's a game-winning shot or a breakout player, there's never been a better time to get in on the action. FanDuel makes it easy to stay in the game before tip-off and live, with player props, performance trends, and same-game parlays. Fans have more ways than ever to play smart and win big. How could a $200 bonus in bets add to the excitement if your first $5 bet hits? Well, I'm going to tell you. The Athletics face the Dodgers tonight in LA, and I think this is where Lawrence Butler and starting pitcher Jeffrey Springs heat up. I am taking Lawrence Butler over hits, plus runs, plus RBIs, and I'm taking Jeffrey Springs over in strikeouts. New to FanDuel? It's the perfect time to sign up. Head to FanDuel.com and place your $5 bet. If it wins, you'll get $200 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, official sports betting partner of the NBA.
All right, so we talked about the Dodgers. Booney, let's talk about these A's because honestly, as a Dodger fan, we only get to play the A's. I mean, up until last year, it was only every other year or every few years. Now we get to play them every year, but it seems to me the little bit I've seen of this A's team seems like a different team than what we've seen the last few years. And you can look at the record and see that, it was just 2 years ago that they were one of the worst teams we've seen in a long time. And then thankfully for you guys, last year's White Sox came along, and then thankfully for those White Sox, this year's Rockies came along.
Yeah.
And so now those 2023 A's don't seem quite so bad by comparison, but they were pretty bad. And now this year, I mean, yeah, they're in kind of a mediocre division.
Yes.
Is that a fair word to use?
Absolutely. Yeah.
But also the A's are above 500 and, battling in that division. My first question is just 2 words. Tyler Soderstrom?
Tyler Soderstrom has been a surprise. And here's coming into the year and during the off season, I said the A's would not only win the AL West, they would run away with it. People thought I was nuts. And I based that on a 2-month type of deal in July and August last year, where they had about the 3rd best record in all of the American League. They actually played the Dodgers in Oakland, lost 2 of 3, but played them real tough in all 3 games. And it was the only time all season when you had a complete roster of players that were playing together every single day. Tyler Soderstrom, first-round pick, 2020, got drafted as a catcher. When you look at our roster and our team, it's a bunch of Tyler Soderstroms, right? You got Tyler Soderstrom, first-round pick. Jacob Wilson, first-round pick, top 10, right? Shea Langoliers a top 10 pick overall. JJ Bleday's a top 5 pick overall. Brett Rooker's a first-round pick who's starting to come into his own. We got a pitcher that's going against you on Wednesday, Gunnar Hoglund. We got back in the Matt Chapman trade, first-round pick. When you start having all these first-round picks and they start developing, you're going to have something special. Why we have not played well at home in Sacramento, if you wanted to call it home, I did a show yesterday called Sutter Health Park instead of Sutter Health Park, is beyond me. We have one of the worst home records in all of baseball, and the best and the best road record in all of baseball. And what the A's are trying to do is what the Dodgers have done, is build culture. We have the tools, we have the pieces, we have the young kids in order to make it happen. This team is beyond talented.
Yeah, it really is kind of interesting to look at. I mean, you're just looking at the stats and like the offense, you've got really Gio Urshela is the only underperforming, or really bad. You could make a case that Bleday and Butler are both underperforming what they should be doing.
Big time.
But even they've both been roughly league average.
Yes.
Urshela is the only below average hitter. And I guess, so you would expect Bleday and Butler to bounce back a little bit and to improve. Do you expect a regression from guys like Luis Urias, who's, he's been in the league a long time. He's a solid hitter, but he's probably not as good as he's played so far this year, right?
No, he's not. I mean, definitely not. But you got to also remember, Urias is picking up Zach Geloff. Zach Geloff's a 2nd-round pick out of Virginia who had a huge year 2 years ago, regressed last year. He's been hurt since spring training. So we expect him back in a couple weeks. With regard to Gio Urshela, he's been out of the lineup as of late. We have Miguel Andujar playing third base right now, which is making our lineup extremely, extremely deep. It's his first time playing third base in about 3 or 4 years. He's had about 4 tries so far. He's 3 for 4. He's making the plays you're supposed to. He's obviously not a big league third baseman, but our lineup is extremely, extremely deep. The big deal with the A's is it's pitching. Severino. You know what you're going to get from Severino. He's no ace of no championship team. He's more of a 4-guy, 5-guy. He's going to eat up innings. He's going to have his occasional big time starts. But here's a perfect example of Severino. An ERA at home of over 6, an ERA on the road under 1. So, we're struggling to win and do anything good at home. Does that have to do with something who we're playing against? We've had a tough home schedule. Yes. But at the same time, we're better than 8-13 as a home record against who we have played. So going on the road, going to Chavez Ravines almost feels like a home game right now for us.
So JP Sears has been the best starter for the A's. I assume we're missing him this series.
Yes.
I guess that's good news. So you mentioned Hoagland will pitch. Who else will the Dodgers be seeing?
You're going to see Jeffrey Springs tonight. You're going to see Jeffrey Springs tonight. Jeffrey Springs was one of the best left-handed pitchers in 2022 for the Tampa Bay Devil Rays before he had Tommy John surgery. LA Dodger fans kind of respect or understand this analogy. When you're thinking of Jeffrey Springs, think of a left-handed Logan Webb when they really got things going. Obviously, he's not at Webb's pedigree, but when they are both right, he has a vicious changeup that is a strikeout pitch. But what Springs did lose since Tommy John surgery, we're trying to see a little bit of a tick up, is his fastball. Before Tommy John surgery, his fastball 93, 94. Now it's about 90, 91. And when a changeup's your out pitch, that's a big deal. We're starting to see a little bit of a tick up on that. So who knows what Jeffrey Springs you're going to see tomorrow? I don't know. I do not know. Wednesday's the pitching matchup I'm looking forward to, in Yamamoto and Hoagland.
Yeah, that should be a fun one. You mentioned Springs being like Logan Webb, so I'm just picturing a guy who gets a bunch of strikes called that are 8 inches off the plate. I got some issues. I guess really my issues with Patrick Bailey and the umpires union. But, I guess we don't need to talk about that here. We're talking Dodgers A's. Right. And then who's pitching the last game of the series for the A's?
So we got Osvaldo Bido, right? He's a true 5-starter. I think the first 2 games, if I had to predict the series, I would say tomorrow is a toss-up. Depending on what Springs you're going to get, game 2, you have a slight edge, and I think for sure you guys are going to get game 3. Osvaldo Bido's been getting rocked, just rocked.
Yeah, I'm looking at the strikeout rates, and his strikeout rate is way low. Everybody, even Hoagland, all 3 of these stars the Dodgers will be facing all have strikeout rates that are relatively low for this day and age of Major League Baseball. It's the kind of team that the Dodgers often give fits to, because if you can't strike out the Dodgers, they're going to hit the ball hard for you. And so, yeah, it'll be interesting to see. Probably a good test for Hoagland. Like you said, he's been good in his couple starts he's made so far. Definitely a lot of potential. I think these Dodgers will probably be a good test for him. Absolutely.
And the Dodgers have game 1. Who do they have? I was looking at the matchup.
It's it's probably up in the air right now. Like probably Landon Knack.
Thank you, Landon Knack. That's who I was with. His numbers don't look great. I know he was on I believe he's on the postseason roster last year. What's his deal?
So Landon Knack was very good in the minor leagues and kind of worked his way up, kind of came out of nowhere a little bit, made it to the big leagues, and has had his ups and downs. He had a lot of downs in the postseason last year, especially he gave up a grand slam to Mark Vientos in the NLCS.
Right.
That kind of soured a lot of fans on him, but Knack he's a solid pitcher. When his issue this year has actually been walking too many guys, which hasn't been an issue for him in the past. His last start was much better in that regard. And so he's a guy who even Dodger fans, we don't really know exactly what to think of him. He's a guy who's only in the rotation right now because Glasnow and Snell are both hurt. Kershaw's coming back next weekend. It's probably Knack who gets bumped from the rotation at that point. But they're trying to get up to a 6-man rotation. And so maybe he sticks around. I have no idea what to expect from Landon Knack. I am almost as in the dark as you, a guy who had trouble even remembering his name, because there's not much difference between not knowing his name and not knowing what to expect from him, which is where most of us are.
For Dodger fans, the A's are going to attack first pitch, right? They're an extremely, extremely aggressive team. They're sluggers. I believe right now they're 6th in all of baseball in home runs. They want to hit the long ball. You're going to have an old school player they're really, really going to enjoy in Jacob Wilson, our first round pick from 2023. I did a show on him and did a comparable. He will look like a clone of Derek Jeter. I'm not saying he is Derek Jeter, but the way his movement is at the plate, the way he plays, shortstop, etc., looks a lot like him. You'll enjoy watching him a lot. Brett Rooker's Brett Rooker, right? He's gonna try to slug his way to winning games. I don't know how the series is gonna go. It just really, really depends on the A's hitting, right? The only way I think we could beat the Dodgers is if we outslug them. Our high leverage guys in our bullpen are ridiculous. Our other guys in our bullpen are awful. So it should be interesting how the series plays out. What is going on with Chavez Ravine? Are you surprised at the 15-3 mark? That's remarkable.
No, I'm more surprised at the lackluster road record for the Dodgers. Not that I expect the Dodgers, 15-3. That's 875 winning percentage.
Yeah.
I wouldn't expect them to necessarily keep that up, but the Dodgers are a very good team, and some of it, like you said, with the matchups with the A's at home, they've played different teams there, and so there is some of that. The Dodgers won series against the Rockies was at Dodger Stadium. You can point to some of those. They played the Marlins in both places, but they swept them at home, and they won 2 out of 3 in Miami. But mostly, I think anything for both teams right now, it's more randomness than anything because it's not the same opponents. It's not the same pitchers pitching on any given day. But yeah, this Dodgers team, I think, has underperformed on the road a little bit and probably ought to be closer to that on the road than they are because they are built to win a ton of games. And at home, they've done that.
What's Dodger fans and your thought on Sasaki?
Dodger fans of mine might be different thoughts. I think there were definitely some fans who expected him to come in being more than than the Dodgers were expecting him to be. I think as far as the Dodgers are concerned, and a lot of us fans, we recognized this is it's almost like getting the number 1 draft pick and drafting a college pitcher. He's a little bit older than a college pitcher, a couple years older, but the Japanese league is good. It's not Major League Baseball. There's differences coming over. And so we expected, we wouldn't have been shocked if he had started the season in the minors. I still think when, if the Dodgers accidentally have everybody healthy at the same time this year, I think Roki does spend some time in the minor leagues, just kind of developing there a little bit. His splitter is ridiculous. It's amazing. And when he can throw the fastball for strikes and throw the slider for strikes, the splitter becomes unhittable because suddenly hitters can't just sit on it or just, and I guess throwing it for strikes, or at least close enough to the strike zone, landing it in the zone once in a while so that hitters can't just say, oh, well, I'm just not going to swing. You have to swing and you're not going to hit it. And so the stuff is there. The velocity is down this year. He's averaging around 96 miles an hour. What would it be like to have that be down? I think I'm hitting 43 these days, but but the slider is coming along, and so he can absolutely survive at 96 if he's commanding it and the slider and the splitter are both working. But we haven't seen that consistently yet from him, and so he could be great, especially like you said, if the A's are that aggressive. The A's might need to change their approach against him because he hasn't totally been living in the strike zone. And so an aggressive team could struggle against him.
And is Yamamoto as good as his numbers have been? I've seen him pitch a few times, and it seems like he's just, when he's right and healthy, he seems to be just a load. He seems to be a different pitcher than he was last year. That's for sure.
And at least the beginning of last year, he made that adjustment, and he was hurt last year for a few months. But I mean, you look in the postseason, the last game of the NLDS, game 5 of the NLDS, he pitched shut the Padres down. Dodgers won that game 2-0. And it's because Yamamoto shut them down. Yamamoto shut down the Yankees in game 2. He gave up one hit, a home run to Juan Soto. Other than that, he was dominant. Like, this is the Yamamoto we expected. His command is ridiculous. And he's got a splitter. It's not the same kind of splitter as Sasaki. Sasaki is more of a forkball. They call it a splitter, but Yamamoto's is different. It's more predictable in its movement. But what he has is that command on that pitch and the fastball, and he has a good curveball. He's got the pitches, and he can throw a pitch where you're sitting splitter, and then he'll just dot the outside corner with a fastball that the hitter doesn't even swing at because, I'm sitting splitter. Oh, it's starting there. It's going to drop out of the zone, and then it just lands on the corner. That's the thing that Yamamoto has. The fastball is good. It's velocity wise, it's nothing special, but it's good. But the command is what makes him so good.
Jeff, give me a prediction on these 3 games. We got game 1, 2, and 3. What do you think?
Yeah, so much of it the two big question marks are the Dodgers pitching, because Landon Knack and Roki Sasaki in 2 of the games. I do like the fact that it is Yamamoto matching up against the guy you peg as the best A's starter in the series. Yeah, that's good. That should be a good game. Honestly, though, like, as impressed as I am with the A's this year, it's hard to see the Dodgers not winning this series, and it's a little bit hard for me to see the Dodgers not sweeping this series. Like, I think each game the Dodgers are going to be favored. That's the beautiful thing about baseball, though, is that you have better teams losing to worse teams all the time. That's why they play 162 of these things. Dodgers lost to the Marlins last week. And Yamamoto got lit up the other night in his last start. So who knows what's going to happen, but I think on paper, the Dodgers sweep this series.
I'm going to go a little bit on the opposite way. I'm going to tell you why. I got the A's winning 2 of 3, and it's going to take a lot of people by surprise. Here's the reason why. Jeffrey Springs, we saw a little bit of a different Jeffrey Springs in his last start, where his velocity came up a little bit, where I think he's starting to get back to that pitcher he used to be in 2022. And the pitcher he was in opening the second game of the series against the Seattle Mariners, where he was just dominant. And I think that's going to surprise the Dodgers. Also, the A's have had a tendency to come back after they have looked really, really bad in a game, like they did on Sunday against the Yankees, getting blown out in 2 of those 3 games. And this is going to be the World Series for the A's. They're going to play like it. When you have young kids developing, getting older, this is big time for them. And we have a bunch of talented kids that really want to show off their skills. Game 2, I think the Dodgers going to get. Right? I think we're just not going to be able to hit Yamamoto. He's just too good. And in game 3, I think it's going to be a slugfest. I think the A's win something like 11-7. They get on, they hit a couple 3-run bombs like we saw in game 2 against the Yankees, where they win something like 11-7, 11-6, whatever it may be. I could be way off. Dodgers could sweep. Who knows? That's why they're playing the games, but it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, it will be. Baseball's always fun, and something about playing the A's when you do have the World Series history, even going back to the 70s, and then obviously 88. There's a lot of history between these 2 teams, and it's not recent history, but it's fun history to look back, especially for old people like you and me, who can remember some of that history. Even older people than us can remember the 74, right?
Yeah, 74.
But it's fun. This interleague play is, I like that they're doing it more often, that we get to see these teams every year. Yeah. And this A's team, my most of my exposure to them is watching the recaps of most nights. I'll watch the recaps of every game. And so I see what the A's are doing. And, I see Jacob Wilson's up to 7 walks now this year. I mean, dude's a
7 walks, 7 Ks
at this point, so, there's some fun guys on this A's team that'll be fun to watch, and
absolutely,
and hopefully fun to watch them be a little too aggressive against the Dodgers pitchers.
Yeah, that's a good possibility. Hey, Jeff, thank you, man. It's going to be a blast. I can't wait to watch the series, and we'll see what happens, man. Hopefully, we can hang with the defending world champs.
Yeah, it will be fun to watch, and let's do this again sometime.
For sure, Jeff. Take care, bud. Thank you for making Locked On A's your first listen today. For your second listen, check out the all-new Locked On MLB Game Night. Every game, every night, all season long. Get local analysis on a national scale. Find MLB Game Night on Locked On MLB on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcasts.